Hey, everybody. I am Tatiana Ryan, and this is the Businessy Podcast. Today, with me, I have an amazing person who is an ex NASA engineer, the founder and CEO of Rizona Health, the inventor of the Vibe Pocket Pulse Electromagnetic Field device for resonance frequency therapy. That was a mouthful. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Yeah, it is a mouthful, but four-letter acronyms are a little rough.
Mark Fox, you have such a crazy resume. It includes entrepreneur, scientist, engineer, author, creative thinking consultant, crop formation researcher, former NASA space. I can't even say all these. Former NASA space shuttle chief engineer, hot air balloon enthusiast, and you built your own airplane. Like, what is going on? You're like the next Richard Branson. You tell us, where did all that come from?
I don't know about the mess Richard Branson, but no, it's like started with rock. I grew up in Cocoa Beach. I'm actually back in the house I grew up in. So I grew up around rockets. My dad was a rocket engineer, and I was like, I didn't want to get into rockets, So I graduated with a chemical engineering degree, and my best friend was a nuclear physicist, right? And we're both hanging drywall for $3.50 an hour because nobody was hiring anybody in 1983 for engineers. So it's like, well, this is terrible. We're not making any money. And somebody said, hey, this new contract out at the Cape, Morton Thiokol, is hiring engineers. Have you put your resume in? I'm like, no. So I did, and they instantly hired me because they had 80 slots open. And I was like, I'll do this for a couple months. I don't really want to be a rocket person. Well, 17 years later, I was still there. So it was kind of weird because I got offered a really big promotion, and it's like, if I take that, I'll be in this rocket career forever. So I'm like, at that point, it's like, I'm going to try something else. So I went to work on airplanes for Parker Hannifin, but that was kind of a government thing too. But I ended up at iOmega doing zip drives, if anyone's old enough to remember a zip drive. So that's where I got to learn the internet and those type of things. So it's I've done a lot of weird things, and a lot of times the businesses are similar. There's the same blocking and tackling, right? I still own 5% of a woman's clothing company. So I did that for 3 or 4 years. Yes. So high-end kind of New York style clothing. But that, and I love hot air balloons. So this is how long I've been flying, how old I am. I was like, how do you get into this stuff? So I looked it up in the yellow pages. Okay. And it said hot air ballooning. And I called them up. I go, how do you get involved? And they're like, yeah, come take some lessons. And so I did, kind of got hooked on that. And I didn't want to build an airplane, Tatiana. I had to because I couldn't afford to buy one. Right.
Are you kidding me?
No, a plane's like $200,000 back then, and you could buy a kit for $35,000. I'm like, all right, well, I'm an engineer, but anyway, when I was building the plane, there's a support guy, his name Rick, and you'd call him, and I go, Rick, this doesn't look, big enough. He goes, Mark, are you an engineer? I go, yeah. He goes, just glue the damn thing together. It'll work.
Tape and baling twine is what we say in the horse world.
Well, there's a lot of Home Depot parts in that plane, but I've had it for 26 years. It hasn't fallen apart on me yet. So
you still have it? I
still have it. Yeah, I just flew it a couple days ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so everything works on it. You were the Wright brothers also.
Everything still works out. The brakes are having some issues that I gotta go fix, but
okay.
That's kind of overrated to have brakes on an airplane, but I'm trying to.
Mr. Fix It gonna go fix the brakes on his airplane once he gets done podcasting, right?
I do, actually.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. So many different things. And why didn't you put the clothing company on your resume? Now I want to know that.
Actually, I kind of forgot about it. My wife asked me the other day, she goes, actually it was last year. She goes, how many companies have you started in the last 10 years ago? I don't know. She goes, well, go count them. So I did, and it was 12. So
it was 12.
12. So I created DNA, where you can make music and art from your DNA. So you do like a mouth swab on you or your kid or your dog, and then it would make art and music from the DNA. And I've done a lot of weird things. So the latest is this magnetic field device that I've been, working on, but it's to answer your question, I'm curious, right? So I'm always learning new stuff. It's part of my Alzheimer prevention program probably is just testing new things and learning new stuff. So it's fun.
Oh my, well, we're kind of getting off topic here, but let's get back to NASA, because that was a big thing in your life. Like you said, you landed there 17 years later and you're in the engineering field itself. When you are building for NASA, like you have to take so many things into consideration. Like, I don't know what parts you were building, but the outside of a shuttle is completely different to the inside of the shuttle where the humans are. But the outside has to be able to endure space. Like,
Yes.
how do you take all of those little factors into consideration?
I worked primarily on the solid rocket boosters, but I know enough about the orbiter, is what it's called, the shuttle. It's the stuff that most people would know, like, okay, I got to have oxygen to breathe. So how do I produce that? I got carbon dioxide. Everyone's probably seen that in an Apollo 13 movie, right? I got to get rid of the CO2. So scrubbers and all those things have to work. What's interesting is you asked me from an engineering perspective, and what really ends up being the biggest issues are the human factors of, okay, if your work colleague pisses you off at the water cooler, you can ignore them for a couple of days, right? And go around them. You can't do that in the orbiter, right? You're sitting next to these people and you have to work. So there's those factors for sure, is the human factor, and how do you handle that with the environment if, you get in a fight or something, right? Sleep, right? And getting peacetime and just go walk away and get away from everyone else. The space station's been designed specifically so you can do that, right? Go lock myself away and get away from everyone. But when you're on the space shuttle, there's not a room really to do that. You're sleeping right next to somebody else. So there's those factors, and just one from the outside to the inside that you asked is kind of interesting. I mean, obviously radiation is a big problem, but from an engineering perspective, we've got that figured out. The outside of it, which is probably one of the biggest dangers, is orbital debris. So pieces of stuff. Elon's not helping, right? Putting tons of stuff up there. But if you think about it, a little grain of sand in the wrong conditions, right? Speed and direction is stronger than a stick of dynamite. And you could see, like on the windshield, like gigantic dings, right? From little grains of sand. So I was I don't know if that was on the resume or not, but I was a chairman of the orbital debris committee, which you won't believe this story, but this is true. So in NORAD, we have guys looking at all this stuff up there, and this back in the early 90s. Russia's technology was not good enough to know if it's a nuclear weapon coming at them or a lens fairing or a lens cap or a piece of a rocket, right? So the first time I was there, and you'd think it would be a major or a general involved, and it was like a sergeant, an E5, picks up the phone, he goes, "Hey, Ivan," he calls this dude in Russia, "Hey, Ivan, 37 degrees, magnetic, whatever, inclination, 118 degrees. We got something coming at you. It's a lens fairing, don't worry about it. We're not nuking you." And you go, "Oh, okay, cool. How's the kids?" Right? And they have a little conversation and they hang up the phone. It's like, what just happened here? I go, "Don't you have to call the president or some general?" And they're like, "No, this happens 3-4 times a week." So you just call Ivan, and right. So that was interesting. And that was back, like I said, early 90s. And now there's a lot more junk. So one of the main factors with the shuttle when it was in orbit, and the space station too, is you have an invisible box. At the time it was 150 miles, and you have to wake the crew up if something's coming, because they got to move it. So through the 30 years of the space shuttle, every mission was more and more movement. There's more and more junk. So you'd have to wake them up, get up, move it over, it's coming. So they have to keep dodging. It's dodgeball, right? So for decades, there's been NASA trying to figure that out. There's all kinds of contractors in Huntsville area that are debris collection, trash can people trying to figure out but we haven't really figured that one out yet. Another human factor, once we had a vehicle sitting on the launch pad, it was going to get the astronauts from the space station, and we found a problem on it, and we had to roll it back and delay it for 3 months. So back to the human factor, the female astronaut was on there. She goes, her comment to the news was, "Are you kidding me? I was looking forward to those potato chips." She wanted to come home for potato chips. So I said, well, the good news out of that, you don't get your potato chips, but you're going to set the world's record for longest space duration for a woman, because we played you for 3 months, and she did. So
Potato chips can wait.
potato chips are kind of half the weight. I don't know why they didn't have potato chips back then. They probably figured out how to do that now, but you know what? So yeah, there's more. Just the human factor really ends up being the biggest thing. I guess the last outside of the order thing I think is cool is when it comes in for re-entry, everyone probably knows it gets super hot. Well, it gets so hot on the bottom, it has to do S curves. So it's doing S turns like in a car. So it's heating one side of the wing until it gets really hot, and then it banks the other way. And then so it's cooling one side and heating the other. Probably 15 years ago, it was about 5 in the morning, hour and a half before sunrise, and the orbiter returned to the Kennedy Space Center. So you could see the sun shining on it, but it was still dark out. And to watch it do those S turns at 17,000 miles an hour, which is how fast it's going, 17.5. It was just, it's bizarre to watch. And for your listeners, if they've never seen in life, I know everyone's seen it on video, but if you've never seen boosters, SpaceX, come back to the launch pad, it's George Jetson crazy, weird. It's going like Mach 4 or Mach 5. So you've never seen an object move that fast in your life. It
actually looks like it looks like it's fake. It looks like it's so crazy.
I've sat there and watched it multiple times. I'm like, why? If sun sets just right where the sun's gone down, the sun's still shining on it, when the booster turns around, you can see the whole thing. You watch it turn around and it crawls its way back, and then it falls at like Mach 4 or 5, and it's like that. It's pretty cool what he's pulling off.
But it's fascinating to watch the technology from, like you said, from the 80s to even the zip drives, which weren't that long ago when you think about it.
You know, it's sad about that. I went to the computer museum in San Francisco. Yeah, San Francisco Bay Area. And they have this wall of, software programs from the beginning to the end. Well, the ones I knew were like on the first third of the wall. It wasn't even close. The zip drive was way back in room 2, and you had to go to room 42, right? It's like, is it that long ago?
Where was the Atari system?
It was right a little bit before that. Atari's was like 80s, right? Early 80s or something. Yeah, Atari was just a little bit to the left of the zip drive, but not by much.
Now, we all witnessed the OceanGate saga that put a big spotlight on the differences in different environments. You go down to the bottom of the sea, there's so much pressure. Or you go into space, there's all the different things that happen up there. Now, when you, even going from like skiing in a high altitude to going scuba diving, you have to take precautions with your own body.
Right.
How does this go into what you've been doing with relieving all that stress and anxiety on the body?
Well, the device, the PEMF, that big word that we talked about, is pulse electromagnetic fields. It's interesting, and in one context, it seems like complete magic, but the Earth is putting out PEMF all the time. So we're in 7.83 hertz, 14.1, and 20.3. So you're engulfed in it. So it's not new from that context. What is a little magical about it is Van Gelder and some other people, there's frequencies and stuff like that was found like an old machine. It just says, I'll read one to you randomly. Vitality female, 49 hertz. Toxicity, 57 hertz. Okay, where'd they come from? And the answer is in 1934, this thing called the Flexner Report outlawed any kind of electrical medical research. And all the universities lost their funding. So at the time, before that, you got mechanical, right, doing bone structures and stuff. You have chemical, drugs, and you had electrical, because your body's all three. But then it just got outlawed and you lost your medical license. So all of that research got scrapped, lost in history with Tesla and everything else. So a lady and a few other people found some of these old cards and just started playing with them. So it's been about 35 years of clinical experimentation with recipes. That's basically what they are. So those frequencies are okay, vitality, whatever. So I just start playing with it. So the protocols that I have on the Vibe are based on that 35 years of clinical experience. Where the actual frequencies come and how they exactly work, don't know. That we don't know exactly. Okay, and we just to make a point, we don't know how aspirin works either. Okay, and it's been around for 3,000 years. But in general, we know that the cells in your body have an electrical charge, just like your battery on your car. And if the voltage gets too low, you get sick. So that's been proven in lots of studies. So we know it recharges your cells' batteries. So that's been tested. And so it gives your cells energy, and ATP, which is called adenosine triphosphate. It's the main food that your cells eat, and it increases ATP up to 500%. So we know, though, we're pretty sure of those two things. So when you get to PTSD or trauma or any of these different ailments, how it's working exactly it's from, clinical experimentation, but there isn't an exact logic on it. And I get in arguments with doctors over this all the time, like, what's the mechanism of action? I'm like, you don't know how any of your drugs work either. Yes, we do. No, you don't. Plus, you don't know how a piece of pizza, everyone's heated a slice of pizza in a microwave. So how does that work? And people go, ooh, well, he asked me, so it must be a trick question. The microwaves do something to the pizza and makes friction. Right. The theory is the microwave is making the rotational energy of a water molecule, which means the water molecule is spinning on its own axis, causing friction. Tatiana, nobody in the world has ever videoed a spinning water molecule or even got a photograph of one. So that might be how pizza heats, but we don't know. Right. So all the protocols I have, like I said, are based on those clinical trials and stuff of things that were core things that 8,000 practitioners have been using. But where they actually come from, exactly, that history's been lost.
With the PEMF technology, there are other products out there that usually come with mats or big tubes, as like I know with the MagnaWave for horse use and large animal livestock use. Now, how does the technology itself differ with your device?
Well, the MagnaWave you said is much, much stronger as far as the magnetic field that it puts out. Most of them, to my knowledge, most of the devices out there are something general, like they'll pick a frequency like 25 hertz for relaxation of muscles or something. What mine's doing is it's going through a symphony. It's going through a symphony of frequency pairs. So if you look at it this way, frequency A is what's wrong with it, B is where is it? So, for example, PTSD is probably one of the most complex ailments there is because it's in every part of your brain, every organ, your skin, it's in your entire body. So like that protocol, the PTSD goes through 76 different frequency pairs. So like 2 minutes, it's running this pair, then it goes 2 minutes later to another pair, 2 minutes later to another pair. And that's, again, all from the clinical trials of trial and error of throwing stuff out and mixing stuff. It's like baking a cake or something, right? Or cooking. Throw in some of these spices. That didn't work very well. Take those out, put in some thyme and oregano, right? Or something different and see what people's reaction are to it. So that's the main difference. It's funny, you say competitors is like, probably the two closest ones to mine is Omni PEMF and HapB. But I've talked to both their CEOs and we all agree is anything we can do to lift the awareness of this whole technology. We're not really competitors. It's like, let's get the awareness out there. We all raise the tide and we all win, right? To get people out there. So,
well, as I would see it, it's kind of like going to a massage therapist where they work your muscles and then they flush you out.
right.
Okay. All right.
It's interesting too, because, and I get this every day now, and I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. I'm not a doctor, but
are you sure that's not on there?
I get an email every day now, at least once a day. It says, hey, will this help with RMCST? And I'm like, huh? So what it is, so you got to have a cold drink before you go Google some disease you've never heard of, because you're going to get images and you can't unsee those pictures once you get there, right? But I've learned from that, I was like, oh, I just start looking for the underlying cause. Is it inflammation? Is it nerve issues? Right. So then if it's nerve issues, I say just run fibromyalgia and see if it works. So I had 3 different acupuncturists tell me, this thing's kicking butt for MS. I go, multiple sclerosis? And they go, yeah. I go, oh, I have a protocol for that. What are you using? Fibromyalgia? And they all went, yep. So I'm making those correlations, and so are other people. And then the brainwave entrainment ones that I just added to this new version, you can just 2 weeks ago, this guy, he's a customer. I love him. He's called me 27 times, not exaggerating, 27 times. Okay. He's go write a prostate protocol. He's 77 years old. He's freaking out on the prostate. And I go, use general information. He goes, it's helping, but it's not perfect. So just looking at some clinical research, I saw that they did a study in Russia, and 25 hertz was really good for prostate. They had 160 positive responses, 160 in a study. So I just looked at the brainwave one. I think it's theta. I may have said that wrong, but I just looked which one's 25 hertz range. So he's my guinea pig right now. Just go run that while he's on vacation.
I wish I would have found you. I just lost my uncle to prostate cancer.
Sorry to do that.
No, but you are doing something amazing, and I'm so glad I found you. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's the most fun I've ever had in business, because I got an email yesterday from a lady, just literally, she's like, I was going to commit suicide. And she told me this story of they misdiagnosed her, chiropractors broke her ribs. She had a dislocation in the brain, all this stuff. And she goes, the guy kept putting me on a pulsed something machine, and every time I turned it up, my body would freak out. She goes, I ran yours, and the first try, I feel better. I went back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, what are you doing? Because now she's tolerant to the other machines they're treating her. So it's fun, exciting, starting today, because some of the doctors I'm working with don't move fast enough for me. I'm doing my own blood sugar diabetes study, because I've got 8 people now that I know of that go like, you've got to be kidding me, to drop their blood sugar from one of my friends 220 to 100 in one session. Like, that can't be real, right? So, but diabetes is such a huge problem and stuff. Is like, we're gonna go run a study on diabetes and go get. What I don't want to do, Tatiana, is my rules. Number one, I don't want to hurt anybody. So I've spent forever looking at just magnetic strengths, what else is out there, what's all the research, what are my competitors doing, everyone in that space. I'm confident that my device at 9 Gauss is extremely safe. Number two, I don't want to sell voodoo. I'm a rocket scientist. It shouldn't bother me, but the Facebook haters that are out there, it does. Every day I get called Hitler, or you should die. One guy says, here's my address. Why don't you come over so I can kill you? Somebody put that in Facebook. Yeah, just horrible stuff. And so that part's the bad part of it, but with all the good feedback I still get from people going, I've had multiple soldiers call me. It's weird with PTSD and trauma, is I expected it to be military men, veterans. It's not. It's 90% civilian women. And that kind of surprised me, but it's daddy issues, horrible husband, crappy boyfriend, miscarriage, kids don't listen to me, life, right? So there's all kinds of that PTSD and trauma associated with that it's really helping. So which is my favorite stories is a 17-year-old girl goes, Mark, this was on a Zoom call. She goes, I've never had a date in my life because I can't. I have Tourette's. She goes, I'm a monster. She goes, no boy will ever ask me out. And she goes, I ran brain balancing for a week and my Tourette's disappeared. I have a date Saturday night. That's a real story. Yeah. Well, I didn't know it could do anything like that. And it was like, oh, okay. And then I get people like, I scratch my arm. It only comes every other week. I scratch my arm so bad that I bleed, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds like an allergy or general inflammation. So run those 2. So she did, and she hasn't had another episode. So there's some magic behind it in one sense for sure. But there's one Facebook hater, and he had MD at the end of his name. He said, oh, does it come with a bottle of snake oil too, you jerk? And I'm like, MD. So I'm like, so are you real doctor? He goes, yes. I go, have you ever heard of an MRI? He goes, of course, I prescribe those all the time. I go, do you know what it stands for? Magnetic resonance imaging. Okay, it's magnetic resonance. That is a diagnostic tool. This is a magnetic resonance therapy. They're not. So real quick, if I can, this is the argument I made with him. I said, do you know how MRI works? And he goes, yeah, you put the person in there, you hit the machine, it gives you a picture. Yeah, okay. Here's how magical an MRI is. Your listeners are not going to believe it. They can go research this on their own. The protons in hydrogen in your body, they have a positive, negative pole like the Earth, and they're tilted like the Earth, and they're randomly tilted through your entire body. Okay, that's you right now. That's how you look. You put somebody in an MRI and you hit them with an incredible, way past the magnet wave, incredible amount of magnetic strength. It makes all of those protons line up parallel to each other like a laser, like coherent light. Because they line up, they reinforce each other, and your body creates its own magnetic field, a huge one, relatively speaking. Then you take AM or FM radio and you turn it to 103.5 FM, hit the person with, depending on if I want to see their kidneys or their heart or their liver or their blood, you change the frequency, okay? You hit them with that, the magic still hasn't happened. You turn everything off, and when your body releases all of that you just did to it, it's captured by a Fourier transform machine that digitizes it into an image. Now, everyone in the developed world's heard of an MRI and they don't question that. Yeah, it's a picture of my liver. I got it. That is what I just described is way more magical than me putting, a magnetic field that's charging your cell's batteries so your body can heal itself. But that doctor's like, nah, MRIs are established. Your stuff's voodoo. Okay. But it's like, and when I keep telling anyone, when I get down that path, the argument is like, all right, doesn't work for everybody, but got really high, have a 93% success rate with PTSD. Just try it for a month. If it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back, because I do not want a single Facebook hater in my lifetime to have that device in his hand and paid for it if it didn't work for him. Send it back. I don't want you out there. I don't need all that negative stuff. So again, it's interesting and fun. And like you mentioned horses and stuff, I'm just now getting into dogs, right? Is trying to do it with dogs because there's 20 million rescues in the United States. So there's 20 million dogs that have been in jail. So they've got some kind of trauma, PTSD, and of course, arthritis and allergies. And so we invented a cute little bandana that goes around that I think I have one right here. Yeah. They just put the device in that. I was trying to figure out how to attach it to a dog easy. So that was the answer, is to make a little bandana.
That is adorable.
Comes in
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so you can use it on yourself and your pets. And normally what's going to happen, the most skeptical person in the family is going to go, give me that thing, this crap don't work. And then they take it and they keep it because it's helping. That's usually what happens when somebody buys one, is like, I got to buy another one, right? I just started selling 2-packs last week for that reason, because most people use more than one. I have one guy, I keep telling people use it every other day or 3 to 4 times a week. Don't get crazy with it. But I have one friend who, ex-race car driver. He's had 4 concussions and he's been on fire twice. This guy was taking 8 to 10 Ambien a night for 15 years.
Oh my goodness.
He's taking 0 now. So he's addicted. I go over there. He's my test guy. I go there. I'm like, how often you run this? 8 hours a day. I'm running everything you got in there. And he's bought 15 of them, Tatiana, just to give him to friends and family and stuff, because it's helped him. But yeah, I go, you taking how many? What? Yeah, he never told me that. And so now he's on 0.
So he's been running it 8 hours a day. And with your device, there are no other parts. Like you had brought up a TENS machine, TENS machine earlier, which is what they do with the TENS machine is they put the pads on you and it sends an actual electronic impulse into your muscles. And I have one, but you have to replace parts constantly with it. So your device doesn't have any of that, like the other ones that I've seen with mats and tubes, and
yeah,
it
like
just comes with.
Mat has like 6 or 7 parts to it. So it's it's a complete standalone device. You just turn it on, it's going to boot up. They're in alphabetical order. So if you want to get to wound healing, go backwards to get there faster.
Mhm.
You just go to the one you want, you hit play, and you stick it in your pocket. That's it. So the protocols will
great.
last on average about 45 minutes, but it's different for each one. So like anxiety is 30 minutes. PTSD is one of the longest ones because, as I said, it's doing a lot. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. But I used to tell people wear it with a lanyard around your neck, which you can. But for me, it's actually easier. Not many men. I just happen to have one today by chance. I didn't do that. Don't have a pocket anymore. I just stick it in my pant pocket like that, and then I forget it's there. Right?
Well, you have the engineer's pocket. So.
I only have a couple shirts that do. I didn't even realize. I just looked at myself in the camera. I was like, oh, this one has a pocket. Women, since so many women have a cell phone in their back pocket of their jeans, just stick it in the other pocket. People will think it's a music player. They won't even know.
But it does come with a lanyard, and for the dogs, it'll come with or you can buy the little,
Yeah, you have to
the
buy
bandana.
vest. Yeah, the vest is like, I don't make any money on it. It's $30. So I have to have them custom made by a lady that custom makes them for me. But yeah, those are, I think, $29, $30. That you have to buy that separate, and it'll come separate because she makes them on demand. And once you get the order, she makes it. But she's good. She turned them out in a day or so.
Okay. Now, there are some restrictions, like people with defibrillators, people that have pacemakers should probably not use this, correct?
That is correct. That's the general guidelines if you're pregnant or if you have something electrical in your body. And it's always, it's just erring on the side of caution. There are no cases where it's caused harm, but the whole PEMF industry is like, but so that, yes, that is true. But a comment I'm going to make is this is 8 Gauss. An MRI is 30 to 50,000 Gauss. And now they are doing MRIs with people that have pacemakers because they need the MRI. So they're having a clinician or a therapist stand next to them to turn it off if something bad happens. To my knowledge, nothing bad has happened. So, but we still err on the side of caution. If you have an implant that's metal, like a hip or a knee replacement, it's completely fine. It's only when you have circuitry or battery or electricity, like a pacemaker or something, you don't want to use it. Again, just erring on the side of caution. That's what we tell everyone.
Okay. So your device has different levels it goes through depending on what you're trying to work with, what kind of problem you're having, like PTSD, like diabetes. So it actually is a mini computer with different programs in it, correct?
55 different copyrighted protocols in there. They're all between 1 and 1,000 hertz, which is super, super, super low energy. Your cell phone, by the way, is 1,000,000 hertz, right? To put it in comparison. So it's super, super low energy. I get asked a lot too, is because it's not new, but it's a common trend now, EMF, right? Bad EMF, like your cell phones and Bluetooth. What's the difference? PEMF, like I already said earlier, it's naturally earth occurring, okay? And it collapses back on itself. If you kind of picture back in grade school, we had a magnet with iron fillings and kind of shows it sort of collapsing. It's an alternating current and it's collapsing back on itself. It's not designed to transmit like a cell phone to a cell tower or Bluetooth from there to your speaker. So it's a whole lot less energy. Bottom line is PEMF is good. EMF is potentially bad, but we need to change the name of it because they sound too much alike, right? But they're both electromagnetic energy, but one of them, like I said, is helpful. One of them is potentially harmful, but people get confused on that a lot. It's like, EMF bad, PEMF good.
A lot of people are saying that medicine itself is going to go to frequency instead of pharmacology, or maybe, somewhere in between biological and frequency.
Yeah, and what we mentioned earlier, if you think about just from a logical point of view, right? You have mechanical, electrical, and chemical. We're the only ones that threw out electrical, right? We just do mechanical. I'm with surgeries, I'm going to cut you or I'm going to give you a drug. US is the only ones doing that. All the other countries look at all 3 of those still, right? So, and it's your body is, everything in your body is electrically conductive. We all know you have built trillions of nerve cells firing constantly, right? You couldn't function without electricity in your body. Yet Western medicine tend to ignore it. It's starting to change recently, but it's it's the long hangover from 1934 of you're going to lose your license if you play with this stuff, right? So yeah, it should be part of the mix. It would make common sense, as I just said. Your body does all three of those, right? And yes, if I need open heart surgery, I don't need a PEMF alternative solution for that, right? If I'm gonna have, I'm not going to be here in 3 days without surgery. There is a place for that stuff, but to just medicate people for whatever of, I just got an email hour before this call is this lady's doctor's furious with her because she went off her medication. All right. She's not taking insulin anymore. I didn't tell her to do that, but her insulin went from like 180 to 90. I mean, her blood sugar. So she just quit to see what would happen. And she's at 90. And her doctor goes, you're at 90, but why'd you get off the medication? Because I'm at 90. Now they got in a fight. He's mad at her. It's like, okay, because it's sad because my doctor, okay, so my two pet peeves, Tatiana, is cholesterol and blood pressure. So I won't go down that rat hole because they haunt my life. Okay. I've done all my own research. I've looked at all this stuff. Cholesterol does not matter. It does. The LDL doesn't matter. Okay. There's a bunch of studies that show that's true. The whole blood pressure one, I was so angry. This 120 over 80 that had to be 175 or 115 now is complete crap. Okay. The longest you're going to live is if you're at like 145 over 80. Right. So you go look at your own data and stuff. So especially the cholesterol one, I put, of the hundreds of papers that I've read, I summarized it in 4 studies from my doctor. She goes, I'm not going to read that. I'm going on the American Medical Association's recommendations. It's like, okay. So the next physical I had, because she wants me to go on statins, which don't get me started on statins, because there's not a single study in the history of the world that shows they are effective. They were low cholesterol, but they're not effective in stopping heart attacks or living longer. None. Okay. So it's like, I show her that study. Will you read this? Nope. So yes, I'm looking for a new doctor. I'm trying to find one that's open enough to say, here's what I'm going to do. My next doctor's, here's my interview. Tell me what your take is on blood pressure for a 61-year-old man and LDL. And I just want to see what their answer is. And I was just like, you're fired. Okay. You just gave me a horrible answer. It says that's 20-year-old. You're not up to speed. There's a guy named Dr. Ken Berry. You listeners don't know, go watch him. First of all, he's a card. He's hilarious, but he's just going after all of that stuff, right? Because his cholesterol is like, he's into keto and that kind of stuff. His cholesterol is, it's like 350. And everyone goes, what happens when somebody tells you you're going to die? Show me the evidence. Because I got all the evidence says I'm not gonna, right? So just show me the evidence, not what LabCorp says it ought to be. I wrote letters, Tatiana, forever. When LabCorp went from 120 over 80 to 115 or 75, I go, where's the data to recommend that? There's nobody give me an answer because they're not. The answer is we want more people on meds, so we're going to keep changing the threshold.
Sounds like they have a mill, don't they? It's a mill they've got going now. All right, you're here, so we need to put you on this med. Yeah.
Or you look at it, why is it suddenly that, was it 40 million more people have high blood pressure? Because they changed the target, right? It just, that people didn't change. It's like, this is kind of weird, like, because as you know, I'm a pilot, right? Is the FAA freaked out because suddenly 200,000 pilots weren't flying anymore. What happened? Why did they quit flying? I mean, that's half of the pilots in the country. Well, because you changed, you didn't ask if they're flying, you asked if they got a third-class medical. Well, they didn't because you changed the rules. Good. So we don't have to have third-class medicals. You only have to have a general wellness, right? It's called a basic med, is what it's called. So instead of getting a full physical, you just go into your normal doctor every 4 years and you do a little checklist. Well, it's like 200,000 people didn't quit flying. You changed the rules. So there's 200,000 people not getting the third-class medical anymore. You measured it wrong, right? You measured it wrong. Go measure how many people were flying. So yeah, it's kind of weird with data, right? You got to be careful of what question you ask. And you know that joke, I'll get it wrong, but it's the one about 2 priests call like the head dude and go, is it okay to smoke while I'm praying? It's like, absolutely no, you need to concentrate on God. And then he flipped around. Is it okay to pray while I smoke? Sure, you can do that. You can pray anytime you want. You just got to ask the question differently, right?
Look at the brand new food pyramid they just put out, like,
yeah. And it's, I'm probably the only person, I don't want to say that, but one of the few people you ever meet that reads the dietary guidelines when they come out, and I just get angry. It's like, okay, you told me forever I couldn't have eggs. Now eggs are good, but you didn't admit you're wrong and say eggs are now good. They just left the eggs chapter off. They didn't say, dear everyone that's reading this, we screwed up on eggs and now you can have eggs. They're good. No, they just went blank. I'm going back and forth on the page. Where's the part on eggs from the last report? They just decided, okay, we're not. And Ken Berry makes a good comment. He's like, you know what? Doctors do no harm, and all the things that pledges they took is they don't want to admit that they got 5,000 patients they've been in statins to for 15 years, and the data analysis don't do that. Or here's the dietary stuff I've been telling you to eat, and we now know it's not good. And he's like, the American Heart Association is never going to back off and say, yeah, we were wrong. So he's like, be your own doctors, what he's saying. Not completely, go do your own research. And my doctor's like, because I have to arm myself, right? So I walk in and I go, whenever I have a new doctor, sit down, I go, they'll start the routine. I was like, hold on a minute, sit down. They go, what? I go, you're gonna get a presentation. They go, what? Okay, here's my blood pressure. I know it's horrible when you just measured it, because it's going to be every single time. I got more white coat syndrome than you can imagine. 40 years of history. Here's all my data. Here's my graph. Okay, well, I have to walk. They just kind of sit back and go, are you an engineer? Yeah, I am. But you're going to try and kill me. I have trauma, my own trauma. It was like blood pressure medication. I was on 10 milligrams of lisinopril. I went in, my blood pressure's high, because it always is. Right? I was on 20 at the time. He put me on 40 and almost killed me. I'm not making this up. I could not get off the couch. So I'm laying there. My blood pressure was so low. I'm like, call 911. I couldn't get to the phone. And this is 20 something. So I have traumatized about any doctor that's going to measure my blood pressure. Don't overreact to it. And it's like, so anyway, I went down that rabbit hole, pet peeve, but it's like, yeah, well, be your own doctor, do your own research, then go to a real doctor, but be prepared,
I think the biggest thing you just said there is do your own research. Also, I had to take care of my mom while she had kidney disease, and there were a lot of things that I had to change her blood pressure medication. And it's, while they also, they want to keep you as a patient too. The doctors, if they lose you as a patient, they're not making money. So
Right.
it's one of those things. But it sounds like you are doing such an amazing thing with the Vibe unit. Where can people find the Vibe unit at?
So we created a landing page for your listeners. So it's Resonance, Rizona, RESONA.health. So Resona.health / your name. So you can spell it for them, because there's two N's, right? Tatiana, RYANN. So
Yeah, it'll be linked in the podcast description too, to make it easier.
Yes, have them go there. There's lots of information. They can learn more. Everything I just talked about. I have 8 eBooks that I wrote that are free. They can start at the top and go down that rabbit hole as far as they want. And at the bottom of that rabbit hole is, if you just go to PubMed and put in PEMF, you're going to find 6,000 articles. There's actually 30,000 published papers on this technology. Most people won't ever make it that far. And then the bottom line is, you just try it, see if it works. So.
Well, you also offer a money back guarantee too. If somebody doesn't like it, you return their money to them.
Yeah, and on your landing page, it's $399. We're giving them $150 off to go try it on your landing page. And then we have a 30-day money back guarantee. And I'll whisper this, okay, 30 days, but I'll take it back pretty much anytime. Because if somebody calls me up and they go, I've used it for 30 days and it's not helping me. This is one of my favorite stories. I don't think it's not really helping. I go, okay, so you need to be hydrated, and how often are you using it? Well, I'm hydrated. How often are you using it? I use it twice. Nope. Use it 3 to 4 times a week for a month. How much water are you drinking, Tom? He goes, I'm plenty hydrated, Mark. I go, really? How many glasses of water do you drink a day? This was his answer. You can't make this up. This was his answer. I go, how much water are you drinking a day? He goes, I'm hydrated. I go, how much water? I don't drink water. How are you hydrated?
Does he drink Diet Coke?
No. He goes, I had a protein drink last week.
What?
That was his answer. I had a protein drink last week. I go, dude, drink 3 or 4 glasses of water before the therapy, use it for 3 or 4 times for a month, and call me back. And he did. He goes, it's working now. I feel a lot better. Right. So almost every time somebody calls me, which is rare, that it ain't working for me, it's one of those 2 things. You didn't use it, or you're not hydrated. It will still work if you're not hydrated, just not near as well is what all the clinical research shows, is this works a whole lot better, which is a theory of why we think it's resonating with the water in your body is how it's transferring the energy.
Well, I personally know it works because I've seen a very decorated show jumper, Margie Engel, used it. And I was in the barn when she came in to get her PEMF treatment with the MagnaWave. And she came in all hunched over and she walked out upright, ready, and sweeped her class. So I know it works. I really hope, and as I said, everything will be linked in the podcast itself to make it so easy for everybody to just hit it and pick one up. And for the pets also, the bandanas and everything are on the same website.
Yes, yeah. And just one comment to the horses is horses don't have a placebo effect. So when people get to that, you do a horse and you see him limping, he's in a lot of pain, and then all of a sudden after a session, he's hightailing it across the field. Right? They're not faking that. So that I've seen that a couple of times. It's like that horse was hurting and now it's not. So, but yes, all the information's there. People can deep dive all they want to. Give it a try.
Now, how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow you on social media or anything else?
They go to the landing page, see our Resona.Health, RESONA.health. The reason I bought the .health because it was health related, because RezonaHealth.com wasn't available. And then it was for sale. This is weird. It was for sale for $100,000, right? For the last 3 years. I woke up 3 days ago for some reason, go check RezonaHealth.com and see if it's available now. And I went and it was available for $3.
There you go.
We gave it up. So I bought it. And now, so they can go that too, and it'll forward them to the Resona.Health one. But have them go to your page, Resona.Health /
Tatiana Ryan. Yeah, they'll be able to go there. And like I said,
stuff and they get the best info. So,
okay. So the discount's right in there too.
Yeah, I've actually made it when they just click on buy now, it's going to actually apply the coupon. So when it'll take them right to the cart and it'll show the $150 off, and trying to make it as easy as I can for them.
So now website creation is on your resume too.
I built a few other what I had to do for the clothing company, there was 80 sales reps, so I had to build a website for all of them. So I built 80 different websites for the clothing girls, but that was
well. Now
fun.
you have to send me information about this website, this clothing stuff. I want to see it.
It's called Anatomy, ANATOMIE.com. Anatomy. So Sean's the designer. So Sean and his wife, Katie, this will be the last story real quick. Sean is like one of the best looking guys on the planet Earth. Okay. It's disgusting. Okay. So when we first met him, we went to lunch. It was hilarious the first time it happened when the waitress forgot my food. Okay. Comes over with his plate and just starts hitting on him. I'm like, I ordered something too. Hello, I'll be with you in a minute. Well, it happened 3 times in a row. Okay, 3 times in a row that the waitress forgot I was at the table. So yeah, he's that good looking. I hate him. He's too good looking. All right. There's a plug for Sean. Sean Boyd.
Well, then Sean has to listen to this. You better tell Sean to listen to this.
Sean, yeah. And his clothes are awesome. So he's doing great. His company's growing fast. Well, then
we're going to have Sean on here too. So you're going to have to.
All right. Now I don't want to be next to him ever again. Especially not recorded.
Mark, thank you so much for your time. And as I said, I will link all of this in the body of the podcast itself so people can have it really easy to do everything. And we unfortunately probably have to let you go because you have some brakes to change on your plane.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. And it's been fantastic. Great to finally meet you.
No, I hope you come back and you tell us more about anything else that you're inventing too.
Yeah.
We'll take that off camera though.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Mark Fox, ex-NASA engineer. Thank you so much for being here. I am Tatiana Ryan. Get over to RezonaHealth.com. Everything will be linked into the body of this. You can pick up your Vibe unit and make yourself feel better. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.